Hello, welcome back to Spiritual Soul Centre. Thank you so much for joining in. I know it's been a couple of days. I think I've just been in rest mode, recalibrating after the wonderful trip of Morocco. I'm really excited today. We haven't really had much of a plan for today. We just kind of jumped on the live. We was meant to do one last night and we rescheduled it to today. I've got the beautiful Trish joining in today as usual, and the wonderful Suzie is joining today. We're going to be just talking all things spiritual, spiritual shadow, ego, things like that, and just navigating how we can navigate through this journey at this time. But remember, guys, we're all in this together. None of us really know what we're doing. We're just winging it together, and we're all here to support each other. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch at spiritualsoulcentre.co.uk. If you want to get in touch with Trish, head to Authentic Aura Crystals at YouTube or AuthenticAuraCrystals.com. And I'll be on at Suzie and making her own information so you can get in touch with her in the upcoming future. But I will not dwindle on. I will get these guys in the feed and bring them in. Hello, hello, hello.
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 We've all just been having a chat backstage, like we've been doing some backstage chats. But yeah, we've just all been kind of getting recalibrated in again and chatting. And because when we do these videos, we don't really have much of a plan. We don't really put much structure in it, much schedule, because I really like to just work on intuition, on vibration. And that's the beautiful thing about working with Trish and, you know, Suzie as well. We have this energy where we just all bounce off each other, where we kind of, when one thing says someone, we all kind of spiral each other into other conversations. And that's what's so wonderful about these Soul Speak sessions. But yeah, I guess any of you guys want to start today? Trish, you want to start about anything?
Yeah. You didn't do that to me.
You go, oh, you know, I need to like talk a bit more. So Charlie, I'm trying not to step over all the time. I won't do it to poor Suzie, she'll kill me.
Well, you know, this is as it is, isn't it? So maybe it is for me to say something because I actually haven't got a clue what's going on, which but yeah, I mean, I've met you, Anya, on the Morocco retreat, and I've only met Trish through listening to you and through this square box. I don't even know what this show is, so you can't get more not you practice than that, can you? You know.
And this Suzie is why I fucking love you, mate.
So, I haven't even been able to go and start Googling your website and find out who's doing what, because since the retreat, I've literally not left the house. God had me grounded. I was going to come and see you, and then after we had this last, and this is a whole new thing when this live thing, because no matter how much, you know, just done a protection and then my computer crashed, rebooting for the protection that you've put in it. But there's still, it's such a strange thing being on the internet. And I suppose it's that protection you put in is like putting in a healthy boundary. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Just when we put a healthy boundary in, I'd only put those in on the Morocco retreat for the first time, and I actually realized what a healthy boundary felt like. And at first it was the most uncomfortable thing, standing up for myself, and I needed a bit of reassurance after I'd done it. But after I'd done the one the following day, and then the following day, the empowerment I felt inside was so different to not having a healthy boundary. And you said at the weekend, I don't know what words you might use, you might have had a bit of a meltdown, and someone has suggested you'd been arrogant. Is that arrogance, or is that a healthy boundary that was never there in the first place?
Right.
So
I really appreciate you adding that into it. And whilst you're feeling comfortable to share, obviously within your own comfortability, why don't you tell people a little bit about kind of who you are, how you got to this place, and even being on the retreat, and you know, because obviously I experienced the most beautiful poetry listening to your poetry on the retreat, and I were crying, Mark were crying, we were all sobbing. It was such an emotional, beautiful, raw, authentic, absolutely fucking fantastic poem. And to obviously, again, with what you're comfortable talking about, you just share what you feel like sharing within your own boundaries. But your journey that you've gone through, it's not been easy by any means.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to this place where you are today, to be still holding that light, to still have the willpower and strength and determination and the courage to keep on going like you do, it is inspiring to others. And I know sometimes when we're working on his own self-confidence and his own self-belief, we just dismiss it because it's our own journey and we put ourselves down. But when you take a look from the higher self or an outside perspective, from my perspective, I can see just how much inner strength and inner power you have just to even get to this place today, just to even get to the retreat, just to even fight to where you've been fighting to get to this level of understanding and security within your own self.
Okay, thanks, Anya. I don't know, we're just ordinary people, aren't we? How did I get on the retreat?
Well, let's go back a bit. Obviously, we don't need to go into anything too personal, but we've all experienced those ups and downs. I always say we all have as higher self chose certain points of awakening, certain experiences for us to go through, for us to awaken. So obviously you've been through some dark chapters of the soul yourself, where you've had points where you've gone, you know what, fuck this, no more, I'm going to change my life for me. And then obviously I think it's about just kind of in respect to what you're comfortable sharing, how you've navigated your journey, and I suppose what makes, how you've got to this point in your life, in this emotional journey, and what makes you you, and the tools and things that you've used to get yourself there.
I suppose through the very center of me runs addiction. Through this life, through past lives, through every part of every moment of every day is addiction. So even today, so I'm off the nicotine today. I've just turned 55, still smoking, and that's the very essence of everything about me is addiction in this physical realm. But I had an awakening, is what I could call it, when I was 26, 11th of June 1994. Awesome. When I was 26, on the back of doing illegal substances. But when I came to my consciousness, everything changed. And I won't go into that experience so much, but with that experience, it was literally overnight. I just literally got taken to what I thought. I only had a concept of the Milky Way, as a word, but I got taken down the Milky Way, and then on the other side of the Milky Way was just this most beautiful unconditional love, this feeling of home. It was like I didn't even know anything past the end of my nose until that moment, and then suddenly I'm home. I'm in my real home. And I was on a lot of drugs at the time, but this transcended every drug that I was on. The feeling, it was such a beautiful place, such a place of unconditional love. And from that moment on, life was never the same again. I'd opened some sort of portal somewhere, because the next day I would go around and people would be opening the windows and getting really hot. And I didn't actually feel any different inside. I just knew we didn't die, and God is love. That's what I came out of the whole experience. And growing up with no faith at all, we got christened as a kid. That was the end of it. Mm-hmm. Didn't have, people come knocking on the door. We used to call them the God botherers.
Yeah. We had christened as a kid, but no else.
Yeah, we didn't bother him. We just got on with it, didn't we? It was like, you just got on with it. And I'm really thankful for that, because I didn't have any indoctrination to undo.
Yeah.
I just had a blank canvas when it comes to spirituality. What's beyond the end of my nose? It was a complete blank canvas. But from that day on, it was like someone had plugged me into Duracell battery.
Awesome.
And
straight into source.
I had no choice but then it became an active part of my life. I had to find out what was beyond the end of my nose, what this power was that appeared to be coming through me, because there was a pattern to it. And till in the end, it was like every time I walk in a room, people are overheating. So I'm the common denominator.
Yep. You started to notice the difference around you. Do you have any questions for Suzie, Trish?
No, do you know? Yeah, she's just bringing back a lot for me. So yeah, I wasn't indoctrinated or anything like that. And then I've known spirit since I was a kid. I had a bit of PTSD from that, so I tried to shut off. But as I got older, and I went back into, I call it spirit world. So I did a walk back into spirit world, and so yeah, all I would get were, Jesus, Mary, Moses. And we used to go to these circles, and the woman that run it, every time I went, she was like, "You've got a big cross in front of you." And I'm thinking, "Are all my guys godly? What's going on?" And yeah, and that really took me, because they were just coming all the time. We were supposed to be getting messages for the loved ones that were in this circle. And I remember I used to shout at my guys, because all that had come through were stuff for me, and showing me visions and stuff of what were happening, or what were going to happen. And I'm shouting like I'm supposed to be getting a message for these, thinking they weren't giving me anything. And little did I know what they were giving me. So yeah, that really took me down a road of really looking into, what is out there.
Yeah.
Definitely what is out there. And then I started researching. So I'm researching the Keys of Enoch. And my higher self kept saying, read Enoch. So I'm like, right, okay, where do I go from this? So literally I did. I got the book. I didn't read it at first. I read the scenes, and it really resonated with me. And then obviously I've gone on to the Keys of Enoch, so I'm just reading that now. But yeah, definitely I would. I resonate with that so much.
Awesome. And just going back to both, because I think what would be good is for you to tell a bit about your story as well after Trish, and then we can kind of do the reflection of both, so we can go into both. Because you've never really done that on the channel, which I think would be good. But just going back to you, Suzie, very powerful experience there when you were 26, very powerful life change. It sounds like a lot of things changed at that point. And I had a similar experience myself on, we won't say, but on a great experience, where I really, really felt that feeling of love that's non-describable in human words. It's almost like a true divine knowing and connection in the soul. And even though the next day I didn't feel any physically different, everything was different. Even though I'd already been in spirituality, I'd already been a reader, etc., it still leveled me up a lot in terms of having such a deeper connection to that knowing and that familiarity and that safety that you feel with that energy. So I really, really resonate with that as well. Also, you mentioned obviously yourself, like me, I was baptized as a child, but then we were only forced to go to church on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or someone's funeral, christening or something. And I was actually quite repulsed from it. I will say, I don't hold that view now, but for a long time I found it really difficult to be in a church or in a religious environment. Like I really used to feel very uncomfortable. And the voices, the energy, the vibration, the whole thing just did not feel right to me. And then I started to understand after, being about 19, 20, started to be drawn a little bit to understanding a little bit more about it. I'd already studied religion and philosophy and all that shebang, and then I started to see the similarities in the words and the understanding and many religions, not just Christianity, in Islam and Buddhism and Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jewish, what is it?
Judaism.
Judaism, that's it. I was like, I'm not saying that right. Thank you, Suzie. There is so many truths and so many concepts of love and light and healing and hope. And I think for me, it just wasn't my interpretation that matched with me. But I really started to understand the resonance between the two. And I'm really glad, like yourself, that I didn't have an overwhelming sense of indoctrination at a young age, because I really think it may have put me off certain things as I'd gone into spirituality. And then, you know, it overlapped with what you'd see in religion. I think I'd have been quite against that. So that's quite interesting as well. And just following on, I had the question, did you have kind of spiritual beliefs or mindset before that experience? I know it wasn't overnight, you're just like, oh, I'm a spiritualist, but I suppose when you had that connection to that source energy, that God, that divine energy, prior to that, had you ever had thoughts about aliens or spirits, or do you had any spiritual experiences before that?
I don't think I'd even had a thought before that.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I am. Yeah, not a Scooby-Doo.
Interesting.
Never had a conscious thought or question, or, you know, we used to take the piss when we were little. We'd take the piss out of Jesus, you know. That was,
Yeah.
but I was just a conditioned. I didn't have an original thought in my head, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd never questioned anything, not anything.
Wow.
About anything.
That is so interesting as well, because I suppose you when I met you, obviously in the retreat, you're such a free spirit, such an independent soul. You feel quite, you know, a little rebel, and you're in a soul. So it's quite interesting to know that prior to that experience, you'd not really had the thoughts of not feeling like things made sense or questioning. And, you know, that's really interesting to know that as well. And I think it makes maybe other people that had awakenings later on in life, or 20 odd, 30 odd, 40 odd, maybe it will give them a bit of reassurance and understanding that it doesn't matter if you were spiritual as a child or not, you can still connect in later on in life, and it makes no difference as to when you started connecting in, you know.
Well, we're all spirit, so and in this puzzle of all of it, of working it out, it's such a personal journey, because I don't think I've got to anywhere yet. I think I'm still working it out. So I don't feel set up as anything, because I'm still in the soup of it, you know. I'm still in the soup of excuse me, trying to make sense of it. It's like I know there's a purpose. I do believe there's a purpose for all of it, and it is coming together, and I've nearly at the last pieces in order to make a picture to go, right, this is my purpose. But at the minute, I'm in the dark. It's like, as much as I had an awakening to a power. It was like I was connected into a power, and I could then channel that power. Like, after I'd had this awakening, I ended up, because I didn't know jack shit, I ended up going to the College of Psychic Studies in London, which I didn't even know existed until these synchronicities started happening. And I went to them, and you know, it was like there was so much light being poured into me. And but they just went, look at you. And that was it. And I was, you know, I didn't really get a lot of help, because ultimately it is inside, and you have to do it for yourself, because they can't see inside me. They don't know which course I might need to do, what conversation might need to be had. But it wasn't very useful for me, that when I knew something massive had happened. But then I got sent to a psychic surgeon after that in Essex. And this is where I get tricky on this internet, because when you talk about people who are still living, you know,
I just don't use names. I just don't use any names.
Yeah, so there was a psychic surgeon, and I could accept psychic surgery because I knew something beyond this physical world had happened to me.
Yep.
So, and it was suggested that is maybe what I could do, because I knew when I just knew we didn't die, then there was a whole world of
things you wanted to explore.
Well, there's a whole world of people who don't have skin.
Yeah.
Like, you know, going way back.
Light bodies and all.
So, yeah, I ended up at the psychic surgeon. And then I think this one I can talk about. So on his walls, he had pictures of Sai Baba. Do you know Sai Baba?
No, I have not heard of that. You, Trish?
Sai Baba was a spiritual guru in India.
Right.
But at the time, and loads of people, and he ends up creating this holy dust or something that manifests to different parts of the world. And the Indians love him. But at the time, there was a documentary coming out about him having so much power and little children. And, you know, fill in the dots on that one. So, but the poster was in this room that I was in. And I was having this psychic surgery, and the physical man's name who's doing it is Stephen, but he's channeling a German doctor. And you can tell that his voice changes, and you can feel the energy. And he's like, you know, you have to say what your purpose was for going there. And I was just like, I wanted an MOT, you know, physical. It's like, so I went there, and he's scooping out all my insides. The weirdest feeling having someone physically,
or physically?
Physically inside your body. You can feel it physically gone through your skin and scooping out your insides, even though that's not physically possible in this realm.
Okay.
But because I knew there was then another realm beyond, it made sense.
Yep.
So he did that, and then he asked me to go back in 6 weeks. And I'd said, you know, about this Sai Baba because he's on his walls. And the German doctor had said, you know, he has too much power. And that was that. And then it was like, right, come back in 6 weeks. I went back 6 weeks later. I got taken into another room, and the entire room was filled with pictures of Sai Baba. The entire room. I was like, oh, okay, I've hit on a hot spot with someone. And then this time, when they did the work on me, the German doctor didn't come through. It was just the physical man. So that when we were going back to ego, that's what I realized there was about ego, because I'd offended by my words, I'd offended the physical man.
Yeah.
And so the physical man then swamped me with Sai Baba, because the physical man got triggered by me, you know, questioning Sai Baba. But then once that the physical person has the ego, gets their skin in the game, the connection to spirit disappeared. So the German doctor couldn't come in and do his work because the physical person embodying that, allowing those spirits in, had got bothered by me questioning his, I don't know whether he was a guru to him or not, you know, but it's a guru to a lot of people.
Yeah. Interesting. Right.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, won't come back here again then.
The work's done. But no,
from there I went off to the College of Psychic Studies, and that's an amazing place. Yeah.
So did you find yourself more connected there, and like you learned a lot there?
By then I'd been on my own for quite a few months with this power, but it was like this power, but I was still in the dark. I still didn't have a clue about anything, but it had taken me to the College of Psychic Studies. And by then I was really lonely, because I would, after this, I couldn't help but stare at people, because I was obviously staring and seeing beyond through their eyes, and going back into some past lives, and their faces would change. But you know, when you only had friends, and you all stayed on the level of just getting pissed and having a smoke, and then suddenly I'm like, stare. It all got a bit freaky, and it got a bit freaky for me because I'm like, oh my God, I married you in a past life and your whole face has changed. And also, you know, and that's not normal everyday stuff, is it, in this dense world that we live in? You know, and until we become aware of like, that's because this isn't the real world that we live in. This is only part of it.
Yeah.
So it was really lonely. It was a really lonely experience. So when I did find the College of Psychic Studies, like I said, I didn't even know any of this stuff existed. But somehow, whatever happened on that day, something was then guiding me to these synchronicities. And what an awesome college. And the people, as soon as I got there, again, they just went, you do your own thing.
Cool.
Which I'm like, not helpful, because I didn't know what my own thing was. I was like walking around like a beacon without knowing I had a beacon on my head, you know. And I ended up, I did a little bit of healing there, still like winging it, not having a clue. But then they had all these other courses on. So I learned a bit about the psychic side, and we'd have to bend down in this group, and you bend down and she'd say, you know, if you bend down, is there a flower? And if you saw a flower in your mind's eye, you know, you had your eyes closed, then you had a connection to the spirit world. So then I had a flower, because I'm like, oh, my imagination's working. And I had this flower. And then the lady running the course said, well, do you think someone's there? You know, do you think we've got a message for someone in the group? And then I had to describe who he was and what he wanted. But of course, the consciousness is like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me, everyone's aware of me, oh, and all of that. But she could see what I could see that I thought was just through my mind's eye, which it is through the mind's eye, because that's the only way we can access the spirit world, is through the third eye. So, but she could see the man, and there was a genuine man wanting to give a message to someone in the group, and I had the flower to connect them. So that was fascinating, because I'm just learning all this for the first time, and and the people there. So I ended up just like having a holiday. Such a beautiful place, and the courses are so affordable, and it's set in a beautiful mansion. Yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone who wants to, you know, further. They do all sorts of courses every year.
Joining us, you can join us in training others, lads.
Well, of course, and then find out, here I am. Yeah.
Here you are. Join
this is it. We're doing it. We're doing it tonight, aren't we? That's exactly what we're doing.
That's what we're doing, lads. Don't you worry. So you found yourself here, and that loops us back, because just to wrap up your little bit of your story there, so you had that you had the dark chapters of the soul, and they kept popping back up throughout your journey. It wasn't just one experience, as we're aware, you know, there's multiple different things, from grief to addiction and loss, and, you know, turmoil, and all sorts of different experiences that you've had to go through that made you who you are today. But then also the financial situation running up to the retreat, obviously, you know, like myself, you've not experienced being born into a load of financial abundance, and you've not had access to unlimited amount of funds. So to afford the £3,000 and odd pound it was to go on the retreat were a lot of money, you know, and to put that on the line like you did. And I know, obviously, without talking your business, but, you know, I know it must have taken a lot to do that. And I think it was probably the best thing you've ever done. Not talking on behalf of you, but I watched the transition in you from that first day to the last day, and I watched you step into your full empowerment, embodiment, and, like you say, setting them boundaries, discovering who you were. And there were a time when I was so drained on one of the evenings from working a lot, and I was sat by the fire with my eyes shut, and Suzie just came behind me like, do you mind if I'm like, whatever you want, babe, I'm fucked. And she'd give me this like healing massage, and I swear it was absolutely phenomenal. And then moved around to Jacqueline, and I seen her just bobbing around everyone, spreading that love and that light and that healing. And to be able to step into your abilities like you did on that week, and now to be able to then propel yourself off. The beautiful thing is, Suzie, you don't need to put a label on yourself as a reader, as a healer. You can just figure out from this point what you enjoy doing and how you enjoy doing that. And why can't you be multiple? You know? So we're gonna figure some stuff out. We'll do some one-to-one and stuff, and get you stepping into your more confidentness with confidentness. That's not even the word, confidence, with your own abilities and owning that a little bit more. But your natural abilities that you've already developed over all these years, you've been in training for years, you know, and you've clearly got a connection with spirit. You clearly got a connection with psychic. You clearly got a connection with healing. So you've got all this in place. It's just about us building the foundations of that for you to feel confident, and that's in more of a structured, professional way, so that you can hopefully make some money in the future, which would be lovely. And that's the thing, you know, it's all about building it up. And what a beautiful thing if you could spread that light and actually live a more abundant life for you too. That's surely what would be the most beautiful outcome for all. Right?
Yeah, and trusting yourself in it, you know, because, yeah, when I used to get messages, I needed to understand it.
Well, I want you to go back. I want to.
I will go to that.
Yeah, no.
I will go to that. But I'm just thinking about so many memories as she's speaking.
And what a great.
It's like,
and this is why I thought it'd be great to have Suzie on while we do this one together, because we can get to know Suzie and the viewers can get to know Suzie more. But then also you can explain your story a little bit more, and having Suzie explain parts of her journey, it makes you reflect on your own.
Yeah, and you know, I used to, So I suppose, I disbelieved what I was seeing, what I was getting downloads. So I used to have to think, right, I need to understand this. So I get messages and I think, well, I don't understand it. I'm not giving it. Until those stuff came up, started doing readings. And then I was like, shit, I don't need to understand this. As long as they understand it.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what's coming through to me.
Exactly.
You know, so that was, I remember doing a few readings, like, and stuff were a bit personal. I thought, oh, you know, just say it. And they're like, oh my God. And then I'm like, that was like a aha moment, like, shit, yeah, I don't need to understand this. Don't try to control everything.
I literally pass on foreign words. Sometimes they're not even in my language, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting to. What I was like, oh, I need to look this up because it's like some kind of language and I don't even know what it is.
So going back, obviously the difference between, for example, Suzie's journey and mine and yours journey is we had a connection with spirit from quite a young age. So from a very young age, you know, I seen spirit, I had dreams about spirit. I was very much a psychic. I had premonition dreams. You know, I was always very, very, very in tune, sometimes too much in an overloading way for emotion-wise. So kind of explain a little bit about the first time you remember being connected in with spirit world or questioning anything, you know, the first kind of time you were into this industry, this world, this weird life that we live. That's wonderful.
Well, mine were different stages through my life. When I was young, when I was about probably maybe 14, 15, there was a screaming mirror. Yeah. You know, I'd be watching telly with my arm, and the screaming mirror. I'd jump up screaming, like, what the heck is that? Yeah, but what is it? I do remember. See, I don't really remember my childhood, but I do remember spirit. Yeah. But I don't remember nice spirit.
I was gonna say, I do think they were both around you, but obviously the brain remembers more negative.
I don't remember nice spirit. I always thought, oh my God, it's so bad. Keep me away from that. It scares me. Yeah.
Which is really interesting though, because how many people might have been open as a child, might have experienced, like, I remember multiple times you've told me about the noises that you heard. Obviously we won't tap into that energy, but you know, really awful noises, awful visions.
Oh yeah, they were. And there was a man in loft. We had no legs. I remember his pants folded and he used to shout at me while I was in bed. Oh, we were only been tiny.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it.
Multiple experiences that before you were even 10 years old have kind of traumatized you with spirit world and with that. And like I said, many people will have maybe experienced that and then completely shut down or been in fear of spirit world because of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember Brad when he was really little, yeah. I don't know how old he was, maybe 4. I don't know, a bit younger than that. He was maybe about 3, and he says to me, Mummy, do you remember when I chose you? And I'm like, no, sweetie, what do you mean? I chose you. Well, what did you do? You were all lined up on mummies and daddies. And I run to you before anybody could get to you. So I'm like, oh, did you? And then as it got older, he said, "You remember that dream I had?"
Well, do you think it was a dream? How interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, "Oh, I do remember that dream you had."
So funny.
And you know, and he used to say to me, we'd be driving about in it, and he was probably like 4 or 5, and he'd go, "You know, people are not nice, you know, really." And I'd be like, "What do you mean? They look nice. They're not nice." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Which I think is lovely, because you obviously could hold space for your kids to be that, to do whatever they felt. Whereas in contrary, whatever the word is.
Yeah,
with
we
your,
didn't know anything like that. It was, you know, Mum got priest in and that was boom, get rid of whatever that is.
that triggers me onto what I wanted to say to you, Suzie, really quickly, about, you know, at the time when you had that experience at 26 and you was looking around for some guidance and support, like even 5 years ago when I went into this world, there were hardly nothing like there is now. You know, now you've got some good and bad shit all over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's completely accessible online. There's websites, spiritualists, training centers, local community centers, spiritual churches. They're all over now, to the point where it's accessible and researchable, and you know, you can learn so much and have so much different information, which is a good and a bad thing. But it's a good thing in the ways that you guys went into this industry and this world, or even just curious mindset, at a time where there wasn't any really support or any place to look, you know, other than you had people like Dolores Cannon and a couple of people doing the work. There wasn't many people that you could tap into and find this support and guidance from, right?
Yeah, because I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very solo journey. Yeah.
It is. And the thing is, I think that's where my experience has been different. You know, like when I got into this, I had Trish, so I begged Trish for years, take me to the spiritual, take me to. And then finally, when I was 18, she took me. So yes. And then the woman was telling me when I needed to train, so I went into it for the first time. Trish went back into it together, which we're skipping all your story, but you know, we always do. But the point of it, why I always had you in that journey, and then you know we had the group in Pudsey, and then we had, you know, the group in where we went all over. We had so many different training groups, so many different experiences. I really didn't feel that alone, myself personally, in my journey, which I was quite lucky. You know, obviously, in terms of when I was in the real world, if you will call it, having normal conversations, I really struggled then. And I struggled as a younger person to have friends and people that understand what I do at such a young age. Like, I have other issues that come up. However, feeling alone in spirituality was not a thing for me. I didn't really feel that. So I think that's something that really did change over the past 5-10 years. And I watched it change myself over the past 5 years. I watched the movement change online. And I watched people become something that you could talk about, you know. I mean, if people had asked me what it was 5 years ago or what it is that we do compared to now, you know, a lot more people understand it, rather than it just being something that's just, you know, oh, I teach meditation or something, because people will understand that, you know.
You know what I like about being online? I mean, spirituality, yeah, they used to talk about stuff, but it's much deeper now, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, it's so, yeah. I can't speak like that in front of people that I know. No chance. I'm a nut job. But the nice thing that everybody online in this movement, is so deep, because they speak about stuff and they understand it, and you're like, yeah, man, I don't have to hold it in.
And that's what I really loved about the retreat as well, because it was like meeting these people online in person. And it was like bringing all the people together that were open-minded and questionable. And even if we don't all resonate with the same exact information, it really doesn't matter. The point is that we all have the ability to understand what each other's saying, compute, translate, and then give feedback and, you know, go back and forward, which again is why I say I think we were very lucky, me and you, Trish, to have that constant back and forth energy. If we didn't understand something, if we were going through something, if we were struggling with something spiritual wise, we'd just come and talk about it, go back and forth between it. And not a lot of people have that in their own personal life. They only do have it online. So I think, like you say, it makes a massive difference to have that. It really does. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so going back to so the gap between you closing down from spirit and then shutting down completely, and then obviously,
I thought I'd closed down.
Well, you did a lot.
Yes, I mean, a lot of psychics that I saw, they were like, you haven't closed down, you've just closed your ears off. And I'm like, well, I've done a fucking good job then. So they were shouting in my face, you know, shouting in my face, got kids to bring up. So yeah, I had about 10 years out me of just, I find it really easy now to switch off. Literally just, bam, my mind, you know, not taking over. So yeah, I had about 10 years out, and then obviously I went back into it. But that was still a scary thing, you know. Yeah, I'd grown up a lot, but I was still afraid of spirit world. That was a massive thing for me to get over that.
And I think that's an important thing, you know, like I was saying to Suzie, we all have journeys and experiences that propel us into facing shit and dealing with shit and waking up and awakening, whatever you want to call it. You know, I chose physical health and mental health to have my deeper awakening of changing my life and going into spirituality. And you know, with you, I think there were multiple different triggers, multiple different experiences, but really truly finding your power in whole self, like whether that was with spirit or in yourself. I think that was
I think that one more on. I think that was within myself and spirit world. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, to just even find my power within me.
That's insane. It overlapped yours.
Yeah, it did. So obviously on the normal day-to-day stuff, dealing with kids and whatever else I had to deal with, that empowered me.
Yeah.
You know, so then obviously I took that with me into spirit world.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Them 10 years out was so important and so necessary.
Yeah,
and that's
why it's to grow.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to give other people reassurance that if you have taken time out of spirituality, or you have, you know, taken a step out of it in the past and you're struggling to reconnect back into it, it doesn't just go away. It's not just gone. You know, it's just about reconnecting and figuring out how you now work and reconnecting in a way
I found it harder.
Yeah.
Found it hard because obviously when I was younger, it was just there.
Yeah, but I think that's
when
also.
I went back into it, I had to work.
I think because you'd created so many subconscious blockages, though. I don't think it was anything stopping you. I think it was more almost like the earmuffs that you'd put in place. It was about finding where you'd put them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I kind of think that was more of a suited analogy for that, because it wasn't necessarily about you, you know, reconnecting. Your connection was always there. The psychics were right. You're not turned off. You'd not disconnected yourself from them, from spirit and source. You just turned off your own abilities to listen and translate.
Yeah,
and I think it was harder to find out where you turned it off and how to return it back on. You know, but yeah, I suppose I think it's been really interesting. I told you we went to do something completely different to what we ended up talking about, but who cares? That's how it goes. But I think it was important for us to kind of just, again, like we always do, bring it back real, but also share where we came from, you know, and how we got into this world, because we all have these different experiences. Mine, as many people know on this show, was, you know, depression, anxiety. I'd always been connected with spirit and psychic and all that shebang. Turned it down a little bit at 15 to 20, 18, 15 to 17, 18. And then when my physical and mental health got so extreme, 26 hours a day and blah, 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 intravenous morphine, that's when I decided to go down the healing route of self-healing, and then ended up opening up psychic mediumship and blah, blah. And that's the point. We all have a route that we go down. But just because someone's done a course or someone's done, you know, been doing it 50 years, like, it really doesn't matter. What you bring is what you bring, and your individuality, your uniqueness, like Trisha's ability to just be so real and raw and supportive and so straight to the point. Susie's ability to just hold space and have understanding and compassion and love and respect, you know, and we all have these different abilities and different skills and energies that we bring because of the experiences we've gone through. So guaranteed that people watching this, you've been through experiences that have your unique understanding because of what you've been through, and you can then apply that to help others. So I think the main message is, don't try and become someone else you idolize or someone else you like.
You've got to take your own journey.
Yeah.
You know, all I wanted to be was a medium. That's all I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And everybody kept telling me, you're a healer. I'm like, I don't want to be a healer. I don't want to be a healer. I want to be a medium. And then started doing training. I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll do a bit of training for this, I'll do a bit of training for that. And then I remember saying to Anya, I'm a fucking healer. She's like, no shit. Yeah.
You don't see it. And that's the thing. I still struggle with the labels being put upon me, like in Morocco, oh, the healers, the healers. I've always gone by a reader, so it's a strange label for me to accept. But what we do is a healing experience. It provides self.
And you know what? It's beautiful learning. I love learning. I love it.
We learn in very different ways. Trish likes to do a lot of courses and a lot of coursework, which is absolutely fine and beautiful. She learns a lot, and I learn a lot through that as well. However, I like to channel in and just download a lot of information. I think I just like to fast track shit. Just find it easy. And it's what works for you, because sometimes someone would do that and not feel confident and comfortable in that they know a lot of things because they haven't consciously learned it. And sometimes people won't want to consciously learn it when they can just channel it in and find the understanding from that. So, and then sometimes you might just pick it up as you go. I don't know. It's just about what's working for you. And the point is, a lot of us have this, like I was saying earlier, a thin line between self-love, boundaries, self-respect, self-worth, self-confidence, and being in your ego and thinking you're better than someone because you've learned more of a certain subject, because guaranteed there'll be a subject they know more about than you. There's always the contrast. We can always learn from someone, whether it's a positive or negative learning experience, you can still learn. And the point is to have reflection and observation on the things that you do like, the things that you do want to embody in your own way, and the things that you don't want to become and you don't want to embody, and see everything as a reflection of self, and choose to then pick what you resonate with and remove out of yourself what you don't resonate with. So if you're around people that are really good at what they do, fantastic energies in the way they work, and you learn a lot, but sometimes you struggle with the navigation of the personal side, then have a reflection on how that feels in yourself and how you may look to others professionally and personally, and have a look at how that's reflecting onto your own self as well. Because it is really important just to constantly, we always have an ego, we always have this extra shit, but it's just about questioning it and checking your intention, checking where that's coming up, just so that you feel connected in with yourself and communicating in with yourself. Does anyone have anything they want to add?
I think, yeah, even just having this conversation and just like, I feel like I'm winging it, because we are just seeing where we're going with it. There isn't a formula that I'm aware of, but trying to talk about anything about a story from the past, how we all fit in, it's quantum. It's really difficult in a few minutes to pull someone's whole story together.
Right.
Because, there's what physically happened, how that emotionally played out, how that mentally affected. There's so many different facets of it. And even just talking to each other. The thing is, Trish was saying, like, she's switched it off. We can't take ourselves away, but we were given free will. I think most people agree this is a planet of free will. So we can choose to switch our ears off and say, I don't want to hear anymore.
Yeah.
And whatever power greater will
respect that.
Respect that, yeah. But we can't do it without each other. It's like listening to a little bit of what Trish says, then goes, oh yeah, that adds to this bit. A bit of what you said, oh yeah, that adds to it. And that's the whole thing. It's like, and the ego thing, I think everybody's got an ego, and we have to make friends with the ego.
Yeah.
We're all taught of this ego death. I think that, I can't help it, I think that's bollocks.
I do.
Because our ego, its only purpose is for us to survive. That's its job. Its job is that we survive. It doesn't care if we're creative. It doesn't care if we're happy. It cares about our survival. So we need to make friends with it, because it's doing a good thing when it's doing its purpose and not freaking out about the stuff, because that's when maybe what people talk about ego, you know, if it goes off the rails.
Yeah, it's when, like, for example, I've struggled with self-worth and self-confidence for a long time. So now I have a bit, you know, I was having a conversation on Saturday and the person said to me, "Oh, you know, if you were a man, I'd call you arrogant, but because you're a woman, you get away with it." And then when I'd reflected on the conversation, I thought, well, I didn't say anything that sounded, oh, me, I do this, I do that. I simply just stated facts about what I'd done and who I am. And they took that as arrogant. And in my mind, it was just intimidating the confidence that I had in my own abilities. And that's why they responded with it being arrogant. However, you know, I had to really sit there and think, were I arrogant? Did I say something? I had to really reflect on myself and think, did I actually do anything that could come across that way to someone else? Simply not because I cared about what other people think in a massive way, simply because I like to make sure I'm not acting in a way that's from ego and from, oh, I'm better than you and I'm this and I'm that. So I wanted to reflect on that to make sure that that wasn't the case. And when I did reflect, I really felt like it wasn't. So I think that's the point I make on checking the ego. It's always going to be there. You're always going to have a form of an ego, but in how much does it come out and how much do you let it dictate to your choices and to the way you hold yourself and the way that you might, you know, not let someone sit down near you or give off energy of thinking that you're better than other people. That's the kind of energy of ego that I think is quite toxic and I think needs to be addressed and needs to be checked in people, because no matter what energy work you're doing, you don't know what energy work they're doing. And that's the thing. We have to have respect and love that, just as what you were saying, Suzie. The best analogy I can think of is we all bring a part of the jigsaw. And when we put the jigsaw piece in and we step back, we can see the full picture. And that's what we're doing here. We're all placing down as part of the jigsaw and stepping back together and being able to see the full picture together. And that might look different from whatever perspective you're looking from the angle, but the picture is the same. You know, and that's exactly what we're doing. No picture, no piece is bigger than the other piece. We're all the same piece. It's just some of us got there quicker. That's simply it. That is simply it. And that's the thing. No one's better or faster or stronger or whatever the fuck. We're all just the same powerful beings, the ones that have chosen this path of light. And don't get me wrong, there is people that are living in a lower vibration and choosing to be and do and act and live in a way that's negative and toxic. However, that's their free will choice, as you said, Suzie. Whatever they've soul contracted into, they will be reverberating that energy back, whatever they're giving out. That's the law of one. So they're not punishing anyone but themselves in reality of it. If you're living in true source alignment to yourself, then that's all that you'll receive back. And I always think about what you said about my staff. You know, just live in truth. Don't do anything that's not in truth heart vibration. And you're so bang on accurate, Suzie, because I was like, right, yeah, I'm just going to be in truth. And I knew going to that airport that there was not a doubt I wasn't getting that little staff stick back with me. There were no way, because it were aligned to my true heart soul, because I knew why and I knew what for and I knew it would be so. And just having that lack of fear, lack of anxiety and lack of negativity created a whole better scenario for the whole thing. So it really is. It's just about acting from love, acting from heart, but still telling someone.
Can I just say something before I forget? Because my ear's going. I know, but I just got, you know, people that don't feel they're far ahead in their journey. So I just got a download of, a lot of people think that they haven't got time, and they have.
Right.
They've got time. So where they're hearing that you haven't got time, I don't know where that's coming from, but they've got time to get on this journey.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's really important. And also, side note to that, yes, they've got time, but also people tell me that they don't have time to awaken. They don't have time to do spiritual stuff. And that's bullshit, because you can do your affirmations while you're brushing your teeth. You can tell yourself that you love yourself when you're getting dressed in the mirror. You can do your spiritual protection while you're in the fucking shower. You can bless your food with positive intentions and, you know, do all this stuff whilst you're doing your daily life. You don't need to create more of a routine or a structure to it. You just need to embody the true self of being. So all them little things that we was on about that people struggle to do, set 10 minutes on an evening at 6 o'clock and just set that time to connecting with your higher self, to connecting with your spirit guides and receive the download or receive some information, and then switch the radio down of the connection so that you're not being overpowered by that. But that way, you're still allowing yourself to get connections with source, connections with downloads, and balance the whole energy out. I think that's just really important at the moment, is to just find balance. We can make time in his daily life. You don't need to go out of your way to force it into your life. You can just create it into the daily life, if that makes sense. I was rambling on there. But yeah, Trisha's fucked off somewhere. She must have to deal with mum life. Look at my little Teddy's just like, yeah, I want to be a celebrity. He's so cute, isn't he? He's like a little human baby. My little Teddy one. It's just so cute. Who needs a human baby when you have a little fairy? So beautiful. But yeah, I think that kind of really sums up the session today. I think we've done well. Look at that, 5555. That's what it was on. When we said that. So yeah, I think that kind of sums it up pretty well. Oh, she's back.
Yeah, sorry, dogs are yap. I better mute myself.
Oh no, wait, I appreciate it. Ted's just sat here looking at me, was like, yeah, I'm just featuring in this live. Star of the show. Little sweet boy. But yeah, so I was just saying, I think that kind of sums up the session today. I'm really glad you both came on. Thank you so much. Because I get a bit stuck sometimes when I'm just kind of talking to myself. Get a bit.
Yeah, and you know what as well? Don't let people, this is for viewers, don't let people hold you back. You are the person that shows up for yourself completely. So take yourself further. And
to quote the quote that you sent me earlier, some people that you thought would be part of the story are only meant to be a chapter.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. And I really think it's necessary. So yeah, love and light, everyone. Protect yourselves, hold yourself in the light. Remember to be the biggest, tallest, biggest, strongest version of you that you can be spiritually and energetically. Remember the power within, remember the light. Also, just before I forget, Tuesday night, tonight at 7 p.m. UK time, we're hosting online Zoom development sessions from 7 till 8:30. When you book it in on spiritualsoulcentre.co.uk, it's £10. You will receive the Zoom link, so you can just press the link and then get on via that. So, yeah, I would love to see some of you there if you feel drawn and resonant. Myself, Trisha and Suzie are going to be there tonight, and that will be every Tuesday. So if you can't make tonight, that's absolutely fine. Just let us know. Also, we may be recording it for those overseas and sending out the recording. So if that's an option, just get in touch if you're wanting to do that. And anything you need, please do get in touch. Send us an email, drop us a message, and get in touch with Trisha at Authentic Aura Crystals as well. And we'll be doing some training with Suzie so she can start doing some magical things with everyone. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, I think this will be awesome. So I will end this broadcast and speak to these guys. And I will see you that are coming tonight at 7 p.m. And everybody else, I will see you on the next live.
See you later.
Bye, guys. Love and light.